welcome back to the Movies That Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you doing, Matt?
Pretty good, sir. Yourself?
I am very, very well. I've watched a couple of movies, which is good.
That's always helpful for the show.
Well, last time I only had time to do one, so let's talk movies, Matt. I really enjoyed our chat on the motion picture.
It was great.
That was a good one. That was I always enjoy those, but there's some when you're like, oh, this is a really good one. This is a really good meaty topic, and I think the motion picture is that. But looking forward to talking this week's movies. I've seen a couple of interesting ones. One of them that you've seen because you specifically mentioned it last time, and I thought I will watch that.
Well, that might be the one I'll start with then.
Okay, go for it.
Have you seen New Mutants?
I have. I've seen
New Mutants. You might have. So let's start with New Mutants then.
Sure.
So we've got Josh Boone directing, Maisie Williams, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Heaton, Alice Braga, Blue Hunt, Henry Zaga. Really good cast.
A really good cast. Also written by Josh Boone, I think, yes. Along with Nate Lee, I think. Yeah. He'd previously done The Fault in Our Stars. And he wrote The Stand, which I'm not hearing good things about. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah,
no, I haven't. But I've heard it's they made some very dodgy choices. Apparently, it sort of like starts at the end.
Oh no! Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know why they do that. It's
do you know
odd.
It even got annoying towards the end when Tarantino was doing it. To be honest, like it worked a couple of times, and then it's like no. Like, just stop now. It's annoying.
Well, especially with something like The Stand, which is a movie about, like, journeys and, how you get from here to there. And
well, the thing is, sometimes it's applicable and sometimes it's not. And in fact, a movie I'm going to talk about a little later, they do this, but it kind of pays off. And I was immediately like, oh, for God's sake. But then it kind of paid off. But it seems all too often they use it when they really shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably not to do with him.
I'm sure.
It's probably a
studio decision.
Like many things are these days. So,
So yeah, a terrific cast for New Mutants. So effectively opens with Danielle or Danny Moonstar, who is a Native American girl, and basically the opening is something attacks her village, I guess.
Well, her reservation.
Her reservation, yeah, and it's all torn apart. And then she gets knocked out, and wakes up in a hospital.
Yeah.
But she's very much a prisoner.
More institute than hospital, I think.
I mean, she wakes up chained to the bed immediately. So she finds herself locked in with these other teenagers. And
I did like Danny's introduction. Sorry, not Danny. Rain's introduction. She's like just watching her from the ceiling.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought that was quite good.
Yeah. So this was, oh my God, like 2016, 17 originally meant to be released.
I think it had 5 different bloody dates for when it was supposed to be released.
I mean,
5 dates. It was originally supposed to come out 13th of April 2018.
Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
crazy amount of reshoots, and just
complete rejigging the script. So many different actors fell in and out of it. Rosario Dawson was supposed to be attached at one point. I think she was going to be playing the Doctor role.
Oh, really? I'm glad she didn't.
John Hamm was turning up as Mr. Sinister, which would have been fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But that fell along, and then initially it was supposed to be full on horror, and it didn't.
I think initially it wasn't, and then they decided to go full on horror, and then they decided not to again. And this film really shows this film stinks of studio interference it's cut to pieces.
It's a mess. It
really doesn't know what it wants to be, this film, at all.
Not at all.
Now, I'm not a New Mutants fan. You're a huge New Mutants fan, right?
I wouldn't say I'm a huge New Mutants, but I'm certainly a fan of New Mutants. I read the original comics, like when years ago when they sort of came out, and yeah, I have a love for these characters, this set of characters, the original sort of -1, the original sort of lineup for New Mutants, especially Illyana, who is in this, is played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who is brilliant in this.
She's great, yeah.
I think she's certainly the star turn in this. The girl playing Danny is good as well. She's
well, it was odd. Yeah, it was odd to me because from the start, it kind of it's kind of set up as if Blue Hunt's Danielle is like the star, but it's like clearly it's Illyana. Like, I mean, at the end, it's like Illyana pretty much steals the entire show.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is that I'm not sure that what they knew what they were doing with Danny. To be honest, I think they sort of they basically don't lean into the horror stuff enough. If they would have gone, yeah, let's do a horror, then I think that it would have worked out better, and we could have had some really good, because there are some nice horror scenes in here.
Well, especially would be. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
you can see what they were going to be. Yeah,
yes, exactly. One thing I would say, which is found very odd, is so you've got with Illyana's dreams with the masked sort of figures that have got, when the mask is removed, they have these sort of like blank faces with these big mouths.
That was all like, I thought that was gonna go somewhere really cool.
Yeah, I did as well. But the thing that I find weird about that is there's a bit like, actually there's 2 bits where they're like in the common room. And Buffy is playing.
It is, yeah. Two
they're
scenes.
They're playing the episode with the gentleman, and I just thought, why would you reference what is one of the best episodes of Buffy?
Yeah.
In a movie where you don't really know what you're doing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess when they referenced it, they did know what they were doing before the studio changed it 5 times.
I mean, I think that was a terrible decision on their part.
It really was. And yeah, you're right. Like the horror aspects of this film. So each of the kids has a tragic history, right?
Yeah, they've all
for
basically
one reason or another
damaged in some way or another, or when their powers turned up, something happened.
Yes, so they're all fear something, and they're all terrified of something, and they've all got a tragic past.
Initially, they think they're in a facility that's going to
turn them into X-Men.
They think it's to do with Charles's school. They think they're in a facility and they're going to end up as X-Men.
And it will come as a shock to no one watching the film.
Yeah, of course.
It's
like, okay, because like this really looks like the place that Charles Xavier would run. It looks exactly like that sort of place.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we've already seen that Charles Xavier would have them in the school. They'd just be in the school. Like he's had problem kids in the school. I mean, he let Wolverine in the school in the movies when he was like practically feral. Like it's not. It's just ridiculous. It's such a silly kind of fake out thing where it's like immediately it's clearly not the X-Men.
I mean, like the whole sinister cameras. It's like that's. Yeah, right. And one of the weird things that I did find that it's like, okay, so they've got this dome around the school, the hospital, which so they can't get out. They realise they can't get out, sort of thing.
Yeah. And
the only person that seems to work there is the doctor.
Right. So I immediately had issues with this. This was probably one of the most stupid parts of the film, and I never got over it.
No.
This hospital for quote unquote dangerous, and they are dangerous mutants.
Oh god, yeah.
One person works there,
and they're all like, none of them are like terribly well adjusted or anything. You're like, Illyana's, practically bloody a savage. She's horrible.
One person works there. One.
Yeah.
And she's in charge of everyone. She's in charge of security. She's in charge of everything.
She produces force fields, doesn't she? That's sort of how
apparently,
she sort of, how she sort of controls them.
She apparently produces force fields.
Yeah.
At one point, they knock her out, and not one of them tries to leave at that point.
Yeah, they knock her out and have a sort of Breakfast Club moment.
Which was cute, but it's like...
It was cute.
But should we not have had a scene there that showed that even though she was passed out, the force field was still there? Because my first thought was they're all going to escape now.
Yeah.
Because she's passed out.
Get the fuck out. It's like, you know...
But no, they just continue like nothing's happened.
There weren't even any sort of like orderlies or anything. Or
Nothing.
You'd have thought they'd have had like some sort of orderlies to keep them in line.
And as we see towards the end of the movie, the Doctor is not in any way particularly powerful. She can produce force fields. That's it. Mm-hmm. So it's just mind blowing to me that, like, why would any organization set up a hospital in this way? It makes no sense.
No, I mean, we're not really spoiling.
It's an old movie now, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
It came out last year.
So obviously, as a shock to no one, this organization is training them to be assassins.
Effectively, yes.
Yeah, and you think, well, okay, if you're training them to be assassins, then you really do need more than one teacher. Then surely you're going to need, you know. It was just really weird, the whole idea that this, like, you know, you've got Sam who can who is in the comics, he's Cannonball. He literally like puts a field around himself and can shoot across, you know, the sky or across the ground or whatever, you know, and like blow the shit out of stuff.
He's like Superman in flight, right?
Yeah.
And he's kind of he seems protected when he's at speed as well.
He's pretty invulnerable when when he's moving like that. You've got him that's that. You've got Sunspot, who is like literally like a nuclear fission machine. He's like, you know, full on sun powers. You know?
Yeah, he
like,
even
set
says
anything on fire, melt all this stuff.
Well, he even says his tragic past is that he literally burned his girlfriend alive because it got too hot and just literally fried her.
Yeah.
Again, dangerous.
That moment in the pool, that was quite a good moment. The moment in the pool.
There's a lot of moments in this that are quite cool, and I don't want to shit on this movie entirely because I think there is the thing that's I say on this show all the time, like the thing that will annoy me way more than a rubbish movie is a movie where I can see the potential.
Yep.
And it's just ruined. And I can see, even when I was looking at the scene in the washroom with the hand in the washing machine.
Yep.
I remember seeing a longer cut of that in the trailer.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can see these scenes and I can see where they were hopefully going. Like like you mentioned the smiley face guys that Ileana sees, presumably due to like I'm assuming she was a child slave, right? And she was abused and whatnot. That's it
depends on what they're going with, but basically she was sort of kind of taken away by demons and brought up by demons.
Okay, right. So because I've never read the comic, so I have no idea. I was just kind of like, is what's happening? But in any case, those guys.
Well, the thing is,
terrifying, right?
Also, the thing that obviously they didn't mention is Ileana is Colossus's sister.
Yeah, and that's odd as well, right? Because I didn't know that Ileana was Colossus's sister until I opened Wikipedia to look at it before we did this.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because the film doesn't mention it.
No.
But it's like, you own the rights to Colossus, why wouldn't you link them?
Well, I think by this point, they were like, what's the point of referencing a franchise that's dead?
I guess, but I don't know. At that point, what's the point of releasing
I mean, they mention Charles and stuff.
They do mention Charles, yeah, that's true. It's odd. It's very odd, but I can see where this film had lots of potential.
Well, it was planned as a trilogy. They were going to be three. Really? They were going to do this was going to be the start. Then they were going to have like the whole demon invasion storyline, and it was going to progress from there. And it was they had proper stories for each movie, and obviously it would have been linked to the wider X-Men universe originally. Yeah. But of course, as soon as Disney bought
that was the end of that
Fox, this movie was completely limboed. It was like, what the fuck do we do now? It's like, is anybody even going to bother watching this? Because it's now linked to nothing.
Yeah, and it, like I said, the horror aspects, it just feels like they really didn't want to commit to any of it. Which is a shame, because it sets up for some pretty horrific scenes. Those smiley face guys, really creepy. Yep. I think
some nice little scenes with the sort of with the priest and Rain.
Yes.
And like him and Roberto in the pool, and it's just like it's like just as it's sort of on the verge of like getting proper horror, it sort of collapses and sort of doesn't quite know what to do with itself.
Yeah, and it's a real shame when you can see that it did have something here. Mm-hmm. Even the demon that we see at the end,
the demon bear, yeah.
Oh yeah, the demon bear. It just looked like a cartoon.
Yeah, the CG's not great in this,
and it's like,
and I think it is again. I think it's a case of they had the CG and they just thought, well, we won't spend too much on it because what's the point? I mean, I did quite like the design for the bear. Because in the comics it kind of looks like that.
Sure,
just a bit more scary because it's drawn by Bill Zienkiewicz.
I think that's the thing. It was like
Zienkiewicz's artwork. It's very scratchy and sort of.
It was
terrifying.
Distinctly not terrifying, that demon.
No, I think if they would have used sort of Zienkiewicz's actual designs, then it would have been a lot more scary.
Yeah, because the demon bear is Danny's fear, right? That's what she's scared of. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's a really nice story there. This mutant that's creating. I mean, that was awful as well. They make out like it's some big mystery for like 3/4 of the movie when it's really obvious the person who just arrived when all of these things started happening, probably her.
well Lyanna works out straight away.
Yeah. And they all treat her like a villain for it.
The thing about that is the case of she works out straight away, but because she's a bitch, it's like, oh well, she's just a bitch. Like yeah. She can be both.
Doesn't mean she's wrong. Yeah. But there's a really nice story there that this mutant feeds or sends back your biggest fears, and that she herself suffers from the same thing, and that she's doing it because she doesn't know she's doing it. Her mutant abilities have activated, but she doesn't know what they are or how it works. So she's doing it unaware almost. It's just natural. She's just naturally doing it. There's a really nice story there, and I'm guessing that it's a really nice story in the comics, and I guess that's why they're really popular.
It's a really good story.
But this film doesn't do a good job of really showing that.
No.
Or communicating that in many ways.
I mean, the thing is that I'm as much as I'm dumping on it, I did kind of enjoy it.
I'll tell you what.
It's not a great movie by any sort of shape or form, but
I was entertained.
I really enjoy it. And I think the thing is, for me, is because I love these characters. I just enjoyed seeing those characters on the screen, even though some of the accents are dodgy as fuck. But then they were in the comics. They were they were in the comics. They were Illyana's a Russian stereotype. You've got for fuck's sake, Sam, who's a Southern stereotype.
Yes.
And of course, and Rain, who is Scottish.
Yeah.
So you've got all these, like, in the comics you had, dodgy accents anyway. So I was kind of expecting a certain amount of dodgy accent.
But I did love as well when Danny is introduced to the group by Dr. Reyes.
Yeah.
Is it? No, it's not Sam. It's Bobby. Right, or
Roberto, yeah.
Roberto. He laughs at her name because her last name's Moonstar.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool because that is a ridiculous name. But they've all got ridiculous names. So it's like you've all got stupid names. Like he's called Sunspot according to Wikipedia. For fuck's sake.
Yeah, well he's Roberto da Costa.
Okay, well that's less real ridiculous, name. I guess. Yeah. But we got Rain and we've got Rasputin as a last name. It's like you couldn't get more stereotypical of a Russian name. Like, well done.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Well,
of course, Colossus.
That's Colossus' last name as well. Yeah. So it is. Yeah. Let's face it. Like comic book names, like especially back then in the sort of 60s and 70s, they just you want a Russian, you want to link it to something that's everybody knows. Everybody's
of course.
Heard of Rasputin.
Yeah.
So we were calling it Rasputin.
It feels like a 60s American name, doesn't it? That they came up with for a comic. So I will say, I thought the cast were great. Can't fault the cast. Thought everyone was fantastic. Script was terrible, but they did very well with what they could do. I thought that Danielle and Rain, I thought actually had really good chemistry.
Which again, that's changed because in the comics, Rain loves Sam. She's got She has a sort of unrequited love for Sam.
Oh, so in this movie, they have a romance brewing between Danielle and Rain.
Which I didn't really mind. I think that was fine.
I didn't mind it. I felt like it needed more time to breathe.
Yeah, it was a bit sort
grow.
of like,
we're in love. Yeah. But I did think they had really good chemistry. That said, Maisie Williams is just that good anyway.
Yeah,
I kind of expect, she
even with the accent that kept dropping in and out.
Yeah, the accent was a poor choice. They it's one of those things, isn't it, where it's like you realise that someone can be Scottish and not have a Scottish accent.
Yeah,
it's fine. Like, you don't have to do the accent.
No,
and I kind of feel like Maisie Williams is a great, talented actress, but if she's a bit spotty on the Scottish accent, just have her the same character, just drop the accent.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's absolutely fine, because it was distracting in places when it dropped out. It really was. And the other thing I will say,
I mean, I think hers dropped in and out the worst. I think
it did. Yeah,
Taylor-Joy's wasn't great either, but at least it was vaguely consistent.
Yes, it was consistently bad.
It was consistently bad.
The other thing I will say, CG not great, but
God, no.
But I really like Lockheed. Lockheed's cute.
Lockheed! I was so happy to see Lockheed. When first of all, I thought
he was going to stay as the bear.
He's got the puppet, the little puppet, the little sort of puppet, and I thought that she's got a puppet called Lockheed. That's kind of cool. Because in the comics, basically, Lockheed, even though it was sort of part of Illyana's sort of thing, Lockheed was basically Kitty Pryde's sort of friend.
Oh, okay.
He ended up with Kitty Pryde, and Lockheed was with Excalibur, the British mutants,
right,
for years. He was with
interesting,
for a long time. So, but I was just really happy to see sort of when she sort of calls her powers up and stuff, Lockheed becomes a real little dragon, which I thought was fantastic.
So yeah, I had no idea, because I mean I read X-Men as a kid and I watched the movies and stuff. But I never did any of the spin-off teams, so I never watched New Mutants or anything like that. So I didn't know who Lockheed was, but I thought he was really cute.
Yeah, he is. He's very cute. He's very cool.
I really like Spyro, so it's like, Spyro. It's just like Spyro. It's great. I guess but I thought it was a really cute scene. And I must admit, for all of its faults, there is some things here. It's frustrating, to be honest. More than
I think if you're expecting a proper X-Men sort of movie, then don't.
Or a horror movie. If you're expecting a horror movie,
it's neither of those things. It's sort of X-Men incredibly light.
Yes, and horror incredibly light. It's one of those things. My fiance, this is the first Marvel film that she ever has expressed an interest in seeing, purely because it looked like a horror movie.
Horror elements, yeah.
And I'm so glad she didn't watch it with me, because she would have hated it. Because it's not a horror movie.
Yeah.
But it does have some great performances. I think the cast are superb.
Yep.
And I do think they had something here. It's a shame that it was.
Yeah, I think if they would have just sort of gone for horror and not worried about trying to market it as anything else, they'd already kind of set it up as a horror. They should have.
Yeah, they should have gone with it.
Gone with it and done that, and it would have benefited from it. I think they missed the opportunity. They basically they were in a bad place where, for all intents and purposes, the X-Men universe is over.
Yeah,
but that instead of like being hampered by that, they should have just gone, well, fuck it, then we'll just
go all out.
Just go all out.
Yeah.
If they'd have done that, they would have been. I think they would have been much better. Because they could have done anything.
And of course,
it would never. They weren't affecting any up and coming movies. They weren't affecting really the past. Because to be honest, the X-Men fucking timeline is a complete shit show. Anyway,
I think the X-Men cinematic universe, quote unquote, I think the X-Men movies for me only work if you only take like the last movie to be canon and everything else is ignored, because like they rewrite and ignore and change things all the time. But the weird thing to me is like this movie is directly linked to Logan. And in a weird way, I'm surprised they didn't capitalize on that and make this as good a film as possible to tie in with Logan. And I guess maybe they did, and then obviously, like you said, now by the time they actually released it, it was all gone and buried anyway. But because at first I thought that Cecilia was the same doctor, the same nurse who is in Logan, but then I realized that wasn't the case. I was like, oh no, it's not the case, because she's way too young, I guess, and it's not the same actress, and I guess it's not. But for a moment I thought it was her, because the girl that the woman who rescues X-24,
X-23,
23 rescues her. I thought, oh, is it the same woman? Is it meant to be her later in life or something? But it's obviously not.
No.
But obviously the Essex Corporation are the people that are creating the weapons in Logan.
Yeah, they're the ones that make the new the new mutants.
The new old mutant. Yeah. So, frustrating. I will say, in terms of how terrible or not terrible this film is, I would say if 20th Century were still around, and if they were going to make a sequel with this cast, I would probably have watched it thinking like, yeah, this has got sequel potential. You could, a rocky start, but it could have, come into its own, because the cast are really strong.
I think it would have been an okay setup movie, but
I did think as well they did do a particularly good job with Ileana, who I think is really the star of the show, because I hated her at first. And by the end, I really understood her, and I really liked her. I do think that storyline was reasonably well handled, better than the rest, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, again, the whole sort of stuff with the kids in the institute's very like, Freddy 3.
Yeah,
it's got that sort of, it had that feel to it, but like just toned down so much that it sort of was
very watered down. Yeah, I think that's
and like I said, I don't want to piss on it too much, because I did kind of enjoy it. And one thing I will definitely say, there are a lot of like 1-star fucking reviews for this movie. It is not a 1-star movie.
No.
This movie does not make you want to gouge your own eyes out, or
chuck those 1 stars around so willy-nilly. It's like,
a movie has to be so fucking awful to be a 1-star movie that
if you're putting the New Mutants at 1 star, then what do you do with like Manos? like on what scale are we judging things here? Where do you put The Room? Where do you put it's silly, isn't it? If you're going that low, it's like really, like it just doesn't work. No, I think this is an average movie. I'd give it like a 50%, 60%, maybe even 60%. There were bits I enjoyed. I'm not going to pretend like I hated it.
No.
Because I didn't have a terrible time. I was like, what's going on here?
Exactly. It's a good enough movie that it will, if you just want to see a sort of an X-Men movie that is not an X-Men movie, then I think you would. There's enough of it that you'll enjoy, as long as you go in knowing that this is not going to push any boundaries. It's not going to tell a great story. It's not going to be, it's not going to be X-Men 2 or Days of Future Past. It's not that. It's nowhere near that good.
I would also say, though, on the flip side of that, with X-Men Origins Wolverine and a lot of X3, it's not the worst X-Men movie.
No, it's nowhere near as bad as Wolverine Origins. That is.
Exactly.
That movie. Now there's a movie that is almost a 1.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't even say that movie is not even a 1. It's a 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's still watchable. I mean, I actually thoroughly enjoyed watching X-Men Origins Wolverine, because it was so bad it was hilarious.
Oh god. I mean, I'm so glad that fucking Ryan Reynolds got to play Deadpool again, because that.
Yeah.
what they do to Deadpool in that movie is just fucking criminal.
I mean, if you're a Deadpool fan, it
yes,
probably annoyed a lot of people. But yeah, so yeah, it's not terrible. It's a real missed opportunity for me.
Yeah, I mean that's the worst thing about it. Like you said, it's you can see the little shininess underneath all the sort of the stuff that could have been would have would have made this just a great. I mean, just lean, if they all they really had to do was just lean into the horror more. That's kind of all they had to do, and it would have been at least it would have been a more enjoyable horror movie than anything else.
Yeah, and I think if they'd lent into the horror, it would have been a unique superhero movie.
Yeah, it would have been up there with what's that bloody the one where the kids find the
Chronicle?
Yes.
I love Chronicle.
I think Chronicle's I still haven't seen Brightburn.
I enjoyed Brightburn, actually.
It's been on my list for ages and I haven't got around to watching it, but I want something like that. That would have been Yeah,
Brightburn's worth a watch. I really enjoyed that, actually. I've only watched it once, but I did enjoy it. So what else have you been watching, Matt?
So, here we go. I watched Monster Hunter.
Do you know, a friend of mine messaged me 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And said, "Oh, this is worth a watch." And I was like, I'm not sure that it is, but maybe you can tell me. Is Monster Hunter worth a watch?
Okay, so it's obviously it's based on the Capcom game.
Yes.
It's directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Starring Milla Jovovich.
Obviously, because it stars Milla Jovovich.
Of course it does, yes. Exactly, you've got Tony Jaa, Ron Perlman, T.I., Diego Boneta.
Pretty Megan good cast.
Good. Yeah. So, it begins almost a little like how the game begins. I have played the game. I'm not fully into it, but
I've not really played it at all.
Played enough to know what the game's like.
Yeah.
And it kind of opens in a similar fashion. You've got the sort of the ship sort of traveling for some reason across a desert, not water, but fine. So it's traveling, and you've got Ron Perlman, who's in the worst sort of blonde fright wig for some reason. No. Is this admiral who I don't think he actually says anything until much later, but and you've got Tony Jaa's character who's sort of in the sharpening his swords and stuff, and you've got the sort of the people wandering around, looking about and stuff, all excitedly waiting, to do their hunting and that sort of thing. And one of the characters, I'm trying to find who plays her. Hirona Yamazaki plays the handler. Now she looks exactly identical to how that character looks in the game. Okay. She's got these really cool sort of steampunk goggles, and she's sort of looking out of the window watching stuff, and that's I was like, wow, cool, okay. And I thought, okay, this is actual almost proper Monster Hunter. I'm happy with this. And then there's this big monster comes that fucks the ship up, which is kind of what happens in the beginning of the game. And then it cuts to Earth.
Right.
And Milla Jovovich and her alpha sort of squad are looking for Bravo squad who have gone missing. They're in Afghanistan.
Right.
And she's got this transmission of their last recording, which is oh no, there's something out there, and all that sort of stuff. The usual
yes, the usual military
military last transmission. She's that sort of thing. And she basically, they're at the coordinates when this big storm turns up, and they get zapped into the other world, the monster world, and then how much do I spoil? I'll spoil a bit of it. Okay. Basically, what then happens is it's these sort of these soldiers in there, that sort of armored vehicles, fighting this big sort of almost dragon-like creature, and it's pretty fucking brutal. There are some seriously really good deaths in this. Actually,
Cool.
I was quite impressed with that. With the sort of like, oh, okay, they're actually seriously going for it. They're not
right.
Fucking about with the with the crew here. They sort of there's a sort of weird sort of, so the creature, it's kind of like a sandworm. So they're out in this fucking great desert, and it's sort of attacking from underneath them, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Tony Jaa's character, who is on this big rock. He sort of fires this arrow at them to warn. He sort of warns them. And they sort of fire at him. It's like, oh, he's firing at us. They fire at him, sort of thing. And she's like, oh, it's just chalk. The arrow just had chalk on it. It's like, yeah, it's a warning, fucking idiots. Like the creatures coming from the sand, get to the fucking rocks.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are some seriously fucking stupid decisions in this movie. Like,
by characters in this movie, or do you mean the movie made stupid decisions?
Both.
Okay.
Obviously, it's Paul Anderson, so you're going to get a lot of Mila Jovovich sort of jumping around.
Slow-mo Mila.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You get a training montage and everything in this. It's funny. So Tony Jaa's character, right? He sort of saves her, right?
Right.
At one point, because they get onto the rocks, and there are these creatures, these like spider sort of creatures that are thoroughly unpleasant. What they do and stuff. Anyway, there's a bit where he saves her, and then he sort of, they fight, and it's like, why are you fighting? What is going? It's like you warned her, like now you're fighting her and sort of tying her up, and it's like, why are you doing? This doesn't make fucking sense.
Right.
It's a really stupid thing, and it sort of, anyway, the first half of the movie, it seems to be that them sort of surviving on this rock sort of thing. Then it sort of goes into the sort of, eventually they escape. They get into this sort of where this sort of these pillars that are producing this storm that produce this portal to like our world sort of thing. And sort of Ron Perlman turns up as this sort of usual grizzled sort of action guy who's like, oh, you know, this is bad news. You know, we don't. This happened before, and we don't want monsters in your world, and we don't want your world coming to our world. Rah, 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 all that sort of crap. And it's like, oh, Christ, who wrote this dialogue? It's fucking appalling. And it's, I mean, I don't know what exactly you're expecting from this movie, because it's there are so many.
I just looked it up. It was actually Paul W.S. Anderson wrote the script as well, so he wrote the dialogue.
That's
Which, to be honest, if you've watched the Resident Evil movies, that will come as no shock.
No, it really isn't. It's got some lovely little nods to Monster Hunter. So you've got some like the weapons, these massive oversized swords and things. You've got the little crossbow, the wrist crossbow sort of thing that Mila Jovovich wears, and you've even a palico turns up, which are so when you play Monster Hunter, you get a palico, which is basically a sort of like a 3-foot cat,
right?
Who sort of they're kind of like your little servants. They follow you around. They like pick up resources for you, and they help you out in the fights. They're like really useful little things. And one of them is this sort of is this chef who's like this one-eyed chef. He's the palico that turns up, and that was really nice. There's even like they show you him cooking, which is like, oh, that's really cool. That was like, I like that. The bits that sort of like are obviously taken from Monster Hunter are quite nice little bits, but there's just not enough of it to sort of warrant that. It's more of a sort of an army survival movie, if anything else.
Right.
I mean, there were bits I enjoyed about it. There were some nice little. I will say this: the creatures look good. For the majority, for the main part, the CG monsters look pretty good. Right. There are some nice sort of designs and some nice little sort of creatures and stuff. That was good. I enjoyed that. The army stuff was like, well, I can take or leave. It was okay.
A question around that, having not played the game.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them. It's one of those games I keep meaning to play. Do the military from Earth get trapped in this world ever?
Not that I'm aware of.
In the Monster Hunter games, you're just in that world, right? That's why I assumed.
Yeah. I mean, I've played. I haven't like played many hours. I haven't.
No.
But I've done I've hunted a number of creatures. I've used the weapons. I have played it, just not to a great extent.
And there's no American military getting stuck in. Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
Not at all. No. I mean, maybe there is later on in the game, but
Possibly,
I don't think so. I'm pretty certain that nothing to do with that. I mean, when I saw the pictures for this, when they first, when they announced it and stuff, and you saw Mila Jovovich in this sort of the costume, and carrying the sort of the swords and stuff, it's like, wow, that looks like Monster Hunter. It's really weird. It's literally, you got so many elements that are right. They could have just done
a bizarre choice,
Monster Hunter movie, but they also caused controversy with the joke about like Chinese and stuff, which was a bit weird, which I think was cut out of the version I watched anyway. I mean, it was ended up being banned in China because of that.
Okay, I hadn't heard anything about that. But,
there's a joke about knees and stuff, and what are these sort of thing Chinese, and it's like.
Right.
Okay, that's a terrible joke which no one should be making, but fine. And the Chinese audiences did not take well to it on two counts.
Well,
one, it was racist, and two, it was an alluding to like Chinese people kneeling, which is like, oh right, that's great. So both ways you're insulting them. So
which is an interesting choice, because I would have thought this is the kind of film that would do very well in China. It's kind of one of those movies.
I probably would have.
You look at films like Warcraft, and it made most of its money in China. I would have thought this would probably have gone the same way had they not made that really stupid decision. So that seems rather short-sighted. So
you've got a fantastic martial artist in Tony Jaa,
Tony Jaa's awesome.
He does sort of some nice sort of little sort of things in this. But the fight scenes are so fucking cut to buggery. There are so many jump cuts, and it's like, can we please just watch some? I mean, I know Mila Jovovich, she can fight. She's not. She's not full on Tony Jaa level fighter, but she can do an action scene. She knows how to do an action scene. But this just felt like it was almost felt like it was being cut to hide. Like a Taken sort of thing. It's like, we're cutting here so that you don't see Liam Neeson going down, or so that it looks like Liam Neeson's like actually jumping over
doing
the fence,
these things,
that sort of thing. It kind of looked like that, and I don't know whether that was actually what they were doing, or whether it was just a weird decision to make it very jumpy, which was fucking annoying. I enjoyed New Mutants more than I enjoyed this.
Right.
I guess if you just switch your brain off and watch some monsters being fought, and Mila Jovovich is always nice to watch. But to be fair, there are better movies out that do a similar sort of thing. To be honest, there are lots of like Korean and
they've kind of been beaten
Chinese
to the punch,
movies,
to be honest. Like,
exactly,
it's a bit late.
That are much better that do the same thing better. The CG might not be as good, but you'll enjoy them better. This was a fucking mess. I mean, there were bits that I enjoyed, but I mean, the middle sags like fuck. It was so boring.
How long is the movie?
About 2 hours, I think.
How long did it feel?
Longer.
Okay.
It definitely felt longer. There were sort of real moments of like, okay, can we just get on with it? Get off this fucking sand and get doing something else. You know what I mean? It was that sort of oh Christ, that fucking awful the movie I really fucking hate.
That doesn't narrow it down, Matt.
No,
the movie you really fucking hate. I'm trying to think now.
Riddick.
Oh, Riddick, yes.
Got
I forget your hatred of that movie sometimes, yes.
The first sort of 20 minutes of Riddick is really I enjoyed because it was like him on his own surviving, right?
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie is something else.
Yes, it really is something else.
Yeah. This kind of felt like that, but almost in reverse. It was like the sort of survival part started out okay, and then just went on too long.
Right. Okay.
And then the end felt massively sort of rushed and crammed in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when Ron Perlman turns up with the other hunters and stuff, it's like, right, so this is this. We've got to get here. You've got to help us slay this monster, and then we'll get you back to your own world, and we can close the portals and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, and then it's like, oh right, that's it then. Okay,
right.
I don't know whether it was they just didn't quite know how to.
So do they become monster hunters in the film, given that that's the name of the film? It sounds more like they're just surviving and then they get rescued and that's the end of the film. Like,
well, I mean, they I guess sort of. I mean, there is a training montage where Tony Jaa sort of teaches her how to use the swords and stuff.
Okay. It just sounds like it's just odd to me that for a film called Monster Hunter, it sounds like most of the film is them surviving monsters rather than actively going out and hunting monsters. Because I thought the point of the game was that they go out and they hunt the monsters for their bones and rare items, right? Which I guess that's not what this film's doing from the sound of it.
No, not at all. No.
Interesting.
I mean, it's Ron. I mean, I love Ron Perlman.
Oh, he's great.
Even he can't sort of.
He has been in some real trash. Let's be honest.
I think that's it. It is one of those movies where he just turns up, looks. I mean, he doesn't even look cool in this. He's got he's got this sort of like the nice armor on and stuff,
right?
But they give him this terrible fucking wig, and it's just god, he just looks ridiculous.
But sometimes ridiculous works for him and sometimes it doesn't.
Doesn't in this. Right. It really doesn't.
Because I think it really worked in Pacific Rim, and I actually had one of the biggest laughs when I saw him. When he turned up in Pacific Rim wearing that outfit, I actually laughed out loud. I thought it was hilarious.
I love those shoes are fantastic.
It's just ridiculous.
He is brilliant in Pacific Rim.
He really is.
Because he just completely leans into that character. Yep. He's like completely over the top. Yep. Yeah, this is the character I'm going to play. This is how I want to do it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, he doesn't get the opportunity to sort of even lean into the character in this. It's it's a waste of Tony Jaa. It's a waste of him. I mean, even to be honest, Mila Jovovich is almost feels like she's sort of walking through it. She doesn't feel
it's a very similar role to most other roles she's done with Anderson, really. Yeah. I mean, they've been making the same character. Mm-hmm. Whether you call her Alice or you call her whatever she's called in this movie, it looks. You could have shown me that trailer and then put like Resident Evil. I don't know.
Yeah.
Afterlife on it or something, and I would have been like, okay, fine, that's what it's the really next Resident Evil. Like film, I guess.
It kind of feels like it feels like that. I mean, to be honest, I really liked Anderson's Three Musketeers.
Yes, actually, I quite enjoyed that. I
thought that wasn't I mean, did he? He probably didn't direct that though, did he? It looks like he might have just produced that.
I'm not sure.
Who did direct that?
No,
he did direct it. So, I mean, I quite enjoyed that. It was like a nice sort of like steampunky version of it. And
I'm trying to think of films that he's directed that I like. They're generally.
Well, he directed Event Horizon, apparently.
Okay, yes, I did very much enjoy Event Horizon.
I
think that might be the only one actually scrolling through this list. The Three Musketeers wasn't too bad. That's probably about it for me, though.
I mean, I quite like the first couple of Resident Evil movies, but did he direct the first one?
Oh, actually, Soldier's a bit of an underrated
Soldier!
Movie.
I love Soldier.
Yeah, he directed that as well. That was actually quite a good movie.
Yeah, Soldier's good.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I forgot he did AVP.
He did.
there's a fucking movie that needs to be buried in a deep dark hole.
I think it pretty much has been, hasn't it? I mean, it's pretty well forgotten these days. Oh well, that's a shame.
I mean, like I said, it's certainly not a 1-star movie.
No, but it's
there was some nice stuff in it. There are some nice sort of actual scenes with the monsters, and there were some pretty horrific moments actually that I was quite surprised at. Those were quite good. But overall, the story is pretty weak. There's some lovely little sort of Monster Hunter nods, but in a movie that's about Monster Hunter, that's not enough.
No,
you know,
no. It just blows my mind that they didn't just lean straight in and go, right, Monster Hunter, we're going to set it in that world. We're going to, you know, who are your audience for this film? Probably the people that love the game.
Monster Hunter has a huge fan base,
so just make that. Just make that, and you can introduce Mila Jovovich as that a character in that world, a new character, but in that world. You know,
I don't understand the need to
have the US military involved.
Have our world anything to do with it at all?
No, not at all.
I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, it is what it is, but
it's interesting though. You know?
I'm not sure I would recommend it.
Excuse me.
It's an hour and 40 minutes apparently, hour and 43 minutes, but it felt fucking longer.
Ah.
It really did, especially in the middle. The middle just sort of drags for so much. But there's just some very sort of weird decisions that I just thought they could have, like, Tony Jaa could have, like, and the soldiers could have met up earlier, sorted their differences out very quickly. They didn't need all this sort of like weird conflict moments and that, and then they could have just sort of got on with it. You know what I mean? They could have moved up the story on, but they don't. They spend way too much time on this weird fucking, you know, are they going to be friends sort of bullshit, which was just annoying. So yeah, I can't recommend it. I mean, if you want to see something with sort of monsters and stuff in it, then fine. But it just was a bit of a disaster for me.
Yeah, well, that's a shame. So,
I mean, it's so annoying when you get like, oh my god, the little Palico's turned up, great. And that's it.
And that's the end of that.
We're all going to see it. That's like, all we're going to see of him. It's like, okay, then fine, great.
Yeah, that is a shame. Fan service is not enough. It will not sustain a film.
Especially not if you're going to actually not
do nothing with it. Exactly.
With it,
you need to do something with it. Yeah. So, last weekend, I was scrolling through Netflix, I think. Might have been Netflix, might have been Amazon. And I came across Wrong Turn, a film I have not seen since it came out. I think I saw it in the cinema when it came out. And I remember it being quite a generic slasher movie about redneck, inbred, you know, cannibals, basically. And I watched it, and you know, it was exactly how I remember it. It's a schlocky.
Well, for me, it was a case of
silly horror movie.
Eliza Dushku's in it. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, of course. So you've seen the original
then, anyway.
Yeah. So I watched it, and as I was watching it, my housemate walked past, and he was like, "Oh, what are you watching?" I was like, "I'm just watching Wrong Turn," and he was like, "Oh, what, the new one?" And I was like, he was like, "Oh no, what, the remake?" And I was like, "I didn't know there was a remake." He was like, "Yeah, there's a remake. Is that already?" So I was like,
"Yeah,
huh, okay." So then I finished watching Wrong Turn, and I was like, maybe I'll just check the remake out now, because I've just literally watched the first one. I may as well, you know, give the remake a go. So I did, and I was quite surprised at what I found. So
you said to me the other week, like that when you watched it, it's like, and there was like, you said that there were like 5 others or something, and I'm like,
there are like 6 Wrong Turn movies. I've seen 2 of them, maybe 3.
Yeah, exactly that. I thought. Oh, I knew that there was a couple, but I did not realize there were that many. Jesus, I
think I've
definitely seen 1, and I think I've seen 2, but I did not realize there were that many.
I've definitely seen 2, and the reason I saw 2 is because it had Henry Rollins in it, and that's the only reason I watched it.
I thought I would have probably remembered that better, but
it's got one scene that sticks out in my mind. When,
Henry Rollins has been in a lot of crap, so
he has. But I just love Henry Rollins,
Yeah.
So like, if I see him in something, I'm like, oh, I'll give it a go. He was in that really good Netflix film I've really enjoyed. He Never Died or something like that, wasn't it?
Was that? I didn't know that was a Netflix movie.
It might not be. It was on Netflix when I saw it.
I was going to say, I don't think it was specifically a Netflix. But yeah, that movie's great.
It's a really fun movie.
He's really fucking good in that.
Yeah. But anyway, so Wrong Turn, the remake, directed by Mike Nelson, and written by Alan McElroy, who wrote the original.
Yes, I did hear that.
It's the same writer. This is a completely different film. Just outright state that from the start. If this film was called something else, and you watched it, at no point would you think this is a lot like Wrong Turn. It's completely different. There are some woods in the film, and that's probably about as far as the similarities go.
Right.
So, as a standard setup, 5 teens, I think it's 5 of them, decide they're going to venture out to the woods, and protective father is like, oh, don't go, or call me every day. And they go there, they get into trouble with the locals, and they're very much teens of this generation, the current generation of teens, and obviously they walk into a local bar, and it's very much a rural America, and they're all sort of
the American equivalent of the slaughtered lamb.
Kind of, yeah. They fall foul of the locals, who are obviously woodsmen, and they're there with their iPhones and their Reddit and all of that kind of stuff. So they don't get on very well, and basically they're quite nasty to the group, but they do basically say, don't go up into the mountains, just don't do it, you'll regret it. But they don't listen.
Well, to be honest, when even the redneck bar people are saying don't go into the mountains, probably shouldn't go into the mountains.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of makes out like, I don't know, because he's being such a dick anyway, it's kind of like it could have been misconstrued as like, you can't handle going into the mountains, not like you will probably die horribly.
It's got Matthew Modine in it.
Yes, it does.
Cool.
Yeah. So they don't listen, obviously, and they go up into the mountains, into the woodland. And then it skips forward 6 weeks. I think it's 6 weeks or a couple of months. And immediately I was like, oh no, you've done that thing. You're time jumping, and why? So now we've got the father trying to find the daughter Jen, who's gone missing. Okay. But it turns out there's a very good reason for it, and it actually worked quite well into the plot. I don't know how much to say about this film. It's not anything like Wrong Turn. If you're expecting Three Finger to turn up, you're going to be disappointed, because it's not that kind of film.
Right.
It's. I'm trying to think how to basically say this. I would say it's obviously not as violent, but it's closer to something like Cannibal Holocaust than it is Wrong Turn.
Hang on, it's less violent and more like Cannibal Holocaust.
It's less violent than Cannibal Holocaust, but it's got more in common with Cannibal Holocaust than it does Wrong Turn.
Okay. What?
So I'll say this. There's
what, in a found footage way, or a?
No, not in a found footage way. In a society kind of way. So basically, there's a group of settlers living in the mountains called the Foundation.
Okay.
And they basically live like, I don't know, Vikings. They're just up there in the woodlands, living in their own society in the woods. And it's quite forced, and it's quite contrived in the way that it happens. There's a scene in particular where I was like, how did this... I was like, I like what you've done. I like the idea of what you've done.
Yeah.
But how did that person get untied to do what you've just done? right? But they kind of make out like there's this society up in the woods. Mm-hmm. A couple of times the teens, things happen, like traps are set and things like that.
Right.
And one of the teens actually dies in a trap. But it basically, they get captured by this settlement. They're taken to this settlement, and they're basically put in like a kangaroo court, charged with murder because one of the teens kills one of the masked men. After several times of seeing them in the woods, one of their friends gets killed by presumably a trap. He kills them. So they're basically sentenced for murder in this society up in the mountains, and then they're basically given the option of either getting killed or becoming part of their society. And it basically goes on from there. So nothing like Wrong Turn at all. Right. Quite gory in places. Has some pretty good scares. There's a jump scare which I actually felt was quite well earned and made sense. It wasn't like a cat jumping down in front of the camera or anything.
Right.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to say too much about it. It's not. I wouldn't
because the original was like sort of Hills Have Eyesy, wasn't it?
Yeah, effectively, and this is not that. This is like completely different. But it's got some really nice moments. It's a remake in name only. I would say that it literally is. It's a remake in name only.
But the actual original writer's writing it. So.
Yes, but I would say it's not a perfect film, but it's a far better film than Wrong Turn, in my opinion.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like, I actually way preferred this remake, personally, than Wrong Turn.
Okay.
I think
I don't remember Wrong Turn being very good.
No, it's not. I mean, it's trash. But sometimes I'm in the mood for trash.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you know...
sometimes I just want to watch a trashy slasher movie, and that's why I watched Wrong Turn, the original.
Yeah, exactly.
But this film is very different, and it's got some really nice moments. It basically, if you're expecting Wrong Turn in any way, it pretty much goes in the opposite direction whenever it could kind of follow Wrong Turn.
Yeah, I think they've obviously done themselves a disservice there, because you're gonna upset a lot of people, because
they should have called it something else.
Wrong Turn has a lot of fans, so
it does. Oh yeah, it does. I mean, they made 6 movies for a reason.
Well, exactly, yeah. So that tells you something.
It's
the idea
odd.
of sort of rebooting it seems a bit weird.
It's odd that they decided to quote unquote remake it as a completely different film. I mean, at one point they do reference the original, but it's like, oh, I rented this movie, some silly cannibal movie up in the mountains or whatever, you know, and it's like basically so I guess Wrong Turn, the original, is a movie in this universe or something.
I'm sorry, if you've watched Wrong Turn and you're still going up into the mountains, I don't fucking think so.
It also happens at a point in the movie where you're like, you really shouldn't have been. Yeah, basically, it's like, why are you watching this? This is a terrible idea. But yeah, it's got some really nice moments in it. It's certainly not a perfect film. It's certainly got issues in a few places. Some of it's a bit contrived, but for the most part, I genuinely, personally, I'm sure Wrong Turn fans will disagree, but personally, I actually preferred this movie to the original.
Okay.
As much as I can enjoy Wrong Turn for its schlocky, you know, slashery, you know, elements.
Well,
it's quite
mutant cannibals in the woods sort of movie.
Yeah, it's fine. This is a very different film, and I did actually genuinely quite enjoy it. So I don't want to say too much more about it. I will say I loved the ending. I loved it. The end credits, just before the end credits, I thought was fantastic. Really enjoyed the end credits. Whole scene is fantastic. I don't want to make out like I hate the film, so the end credits were the best bit, but there's something that happens towards the end of the film. I was like, oh, that's really cool, actually. I really like that ending. Genuinely surprised at this film, and I rather enjoyed it. It's certainly not perfect. No. I'm not going to make out like it's a horror masterpiece.
Well, to be honest, it was one of those movies that I sort of heard that they'd remade, but it was one of those cases where I was just like, well, I'm probably not going to bother watching it.
No.
But to be honest, you've actually made me want to watch it.
It's interesting.
Well, at least give it a go, anyway.
It's worth a go. I would say it's worth a go. I'm not going to make out like it's a perfect film or a masterpiece, but
no,
it certainly went in a very different direction, and I think it's a direction that I personally prefer.
Right. Maybe they shouldn't have called it Wrong Turn, then.
I don't think they should have called it Wrong Turn. It's basically what's happened here. They should have called it something else, and they probably would have found the right audience if they'd called it something else.
They could have easily have just gone from the writers of Wrong Turn.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, they do get lost in the woods, so I guess they do make a wrong turn. But
yeah,
that's yeah.
I mean, that could be said about almost most horror movies.
Every horror movie ever. Yeah. But yeah, genuinely had fun with this one. I can't tell at this point whether it's more that I enjoyed it so much because I was so surprised at how different it was.
Yeah.
But this is definitely more my kind of movie than the Wrong Turn, the original. So I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
So I would say it's worth a watch if you can rent it cheap, or if it it'll inevitably turn up on one of the streaming sites.
Yeah, of course it will.
It's worth a watch. It's an interesting remake for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's basically not a remake. Not
a remake. Yeah, it's a reboot by the sounds of it.
It's strange because it really puzzles me that it's by the same writer.
Mm.
Because you almost think like they were like, oh, someone's just taken the name and cashed in on the name to make a different movie. But it's the same writer, so it's like he's made a conscious decision to do this.
Unless this was the movie that he originally wanted to make.
Yeah, or like it almost made me think you could have made a really like kind of interesting franchise here where each movie is a different wrong turn, Yeah. Like Halloween, we always wanted Halloween to be a different movie.
The third episode, like what they did with the third one, wasn't it?
Yeah, like that could have been fun. That could have been fun here, but it's a bit weird when you've made 6 wrong turn movies to then suddenly remake it as a completely different thing. But worth a watch.
That actually does remind me. I saw the original Halloween 2 the other day, which I haven't seen for donkey's years. Oh, that movie's rough.
It is. It's rougher than most people remember.
Yeah, no, I did not remember it being that bad.
No, it really... the first movie ends fine. There was no need.
I like the idea that it was just literally the same night continuing. That was quite a nice sort of idea.
It raises so many questions, though.
Yeah. It's... Oh, yeah.
It doesn't work terribly well. I like the hospital setting.
Yes. Maybe not for the second Halloween movie, though.
No, it really doesn't.
And also all of the characters. My God, I mean, you don't expect to be honest. You don't expect a lot from the characters in a slasher movie, but these people are real dicks. They totally deserve to get horribly, horribly murdered.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's not a great sequel. I think it's mostly fondly remembered because the subsequent sequels were so bad that people are like, well, the first 2 were fine. It's like no, I don't think it is. I prefer the third one to the second one.
Yes,
for sure,
for different reasons, but yeah.
Yeah, well, just for going in its own direction, because Halloween should have ended with the first one. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
As much as I liked the last Halloween movie they made, that was kind of a continuation, I did like a lot of that film. It was completely unnecessary.
As a sequel, it's 1,000 times better.
Well, it's a best of, isn't it? It's a best of movie. It takes the best kills from Halloween sequel history and puts them into one much more competent movie.
Yeah.
But it's still unnecessary. Halloween is a wonderful film, and it ends tremendously, and it should have been left there, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not aged well, that sequel, at all.
No, not at all.
So have you seen anything else?
Well, keeping with the whole slasher thing, I've seen Freaky.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, okay. So,
Freaky.
Yes. So, it's Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
Catherine Newton, Celeste O'Connor, Misha, oh dear me, Oshrovich. Sorry.
You tried your best.
It's directed by Christopher Landon, who had previously who had written Paranormal Activity, Mark what was
marked
it?
ones. Oh, that
the
is
marked ones.
awful.
Happy Death Day to You, not Happy Death Day. And Scout's Guide to Zombie Apocalypse, which I actually quite liked.
I was recently rewatching the Paranormal Activity films, and I'd never seen the marked ones onward.
Yeah.
And that is a terrible film.
Oh, okay.
It was awful. But anyway, so what's Freaky about?
So Freaky, so we meet Millie, who is a student, high school student, and basically you learn that her father has died, and her mother is not coping very well. She's drinking. Her sister, who's a policeman, is throwing herself into her work, and she's sort of like not having a good time. She's planning on going to college, but she can't really go to college if her mum, because of her mum, and she's planning on going to sort of like college, but obviously that's it. Actually, it doesn't start like that. I just remembered it. It actually starts with a bunch of kids telling horror stories at a party, and they all get horribly murdered by the Blissville Butcher.
Right.
And the house that these kids are in. The one of the girls, it's her father's place, it's her family house, and he's got all these really cool artifacts in his house.
Right.
And the butcher, after he kills them all, he takes this knife, this Aztec dagger.
Okay.
So then you're introduced to Millie, and she's got two friends, Nyla and Josh, who are like, it's the usual cliche of the like gay best friend and the black friend, and they're sort of it's one of those like, oh, she's the pretty ugly girl, but she gets picked on and all that sort of stuff, usual sort of crap. She's also the school mascot, the
Hollywood quote unquote ugly girl.
Yes, exactly. Yes. The Hollywood ugly girl.
As in still clearly a model. Just wearing glasses or something.
Yeah, she's wearing terrible clothing and she's hunching her shoulders.
Yeah,
so she's hideous.
Yeah.
After the football game, her mother's too drunk to pick her up, so she's alone waiting.
Okay.
And the butcher turns up, chases her for a bit, and then stabs her. Right. Her sister shows up, chases him off. So she doesn't die. And in the next morning, she discovers that she is in the body of the butcher.
Oh, because of the dagger.
The dagger, yes. The dagger has swapped their places, hence the title Freaky. It was originally going to be called Freaky Friday the 13th. So she is now in Vince Vaughn's body, and Vince Vaughn is now in her body.
So... Okay, so people are only murdering to body swap. Is that what's happening?
No, he did it completely by accident.
He didn't realize that this dagger was magic.
He basically saw the dagger on the table when he was killing the other kids and went, "Oh, I'm having some of that," and basically took it.
So he is actually a mass murderer.
He's a full on. Mike Myers, Jason Voorhees butcher. He's even got his mask is this sort of like primitive skull looking mask,
okay,
which is very sort of Jason. It's almost very hockey mask. And I forget how fucking huge Vince Vaughn is.
Yeah, he's quite a terrifying
dude. I always forget how massive he is.
Yeah.
So he's here. What basically ensues is the Millie character discovering that she's this giant guy who is a serial killer, and the serial killer in this sort of like family home where she's there are bits where she's just about to kill the mom, and the sister turns up, and she's about to kill the sister, and the mum just takes the knife out of her hand and goes, "Oh, I've got that," and like she's like, "What's going on?" Like, foiled sort of thing. And then she's like, "Oh, you got to go to school and stuff." And she's like, immediately it's like, "Ooh, school! I can do a lot of damage at school," sort of thing.
So I gotta say, this I'm kind of on board with this from the sound of it so far.
Yeah,
I guess it really comes down to how well Vince Vaughn can play a teenage girl.
Vince Vaughn is brilliant.
Excellent.
He completely camps it up as this sort of like, he's got
tremendous.
If you're going to see subtle sort of.
No, that's not what I'm coming to this movie for.
Exactly.
I mean,
you want to see him running like a girl,
yes,
as it were. Which I know that's a terrible term these days, but if you want to see him running like a girl and dealing with peeing standing up and
well, Freaky Friday stuff, right? I mean, obviously, Freaky Friday was same gender, but that idea of like I'm in someone else's body, I don't know how this, it sounds to be honest, it sounds
really
fun.
Nice brutal kills in it. Some of the teenage stuff kind of falls down a little,
right?
It's it's kind of, sometimes it feels like it's trying to be more than it is, and sometimes it's sort of like trying too much to be a teen comedy,
right?
So the balance sometimes is a bit off, but the central performances of Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton is the serial killer swapped sort of thing are really, really good. I really enjoyed them. There's some sort of great bits where you've got the how she proves who she is little dance and all that sort of stuff, and you've got this sort of the sort of slightly woke stuff that turns up but isn't so bad that it makes you want to vomit. It is kind of like we said with a couple of movies, like Willy's Wonderland, for instance. It does what it says on the tin. It's literally Freaky Friday but with Friday the 13th mixed in.
Yeah.
And
and that's fine. I'm kind of on board with this premise. It sounds funny.
Really great bits where, like, so Vince Vaughn, so Millie in the Vince Vaughn body,
yes,
is like realizing that she's this huge bloke who, like, she pushes one of her friends at one point and he goes miles, and she's like, shit. It's her dealing with her own strength and stuff like that, which is really, really funny. And then on the opposite thing, you've got Catherine Newton being exactly, and there's this bit where she goes to kill her teacher, well, no, not her teacher, a teacher, who's a real fucking dick, and he's played by Alan Ruck.
Nice.
Which is like, hooray, it's Alan Ruck, and they're like, he's a real douchebag, this teacher, and she goes to kill him, and of course he fights back, and she doesn't have the strength. She's, so you actually see the fact that she struggles to try and kill him because whereas before she would have literally like grabbed him and lifted him off the ground, now she can like barely sort of move him, which is brilliant. It's something that a lot of movies forget about. The idea that this tiny girl can kick ass with this big guy. Specifically trained, fine. But if it's just like a standard girl, no, she's not gonna fight this guy off as well. And it's like, it's really funny to see that this guy going, like, realizing, oh shit, this girl can't do crap. It's just quite funny.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun premise. I must admit,
it's really funny. It's really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. Again, it's not a great movie. It's if you're expecting something original and brilliant, you're not going to get that, because it, like I said, it tells you what it is, and that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
What you're actually getting is a great performance by Vince Vaughn. You're getting a really good performance by Catherine Newton, and you're getting really good, relatively good kills. What can you ask in a sort of a body swap slasher?
Yeah, it sounds really fun. I gotta be honest. I'm kind of down with this. I might have to check this one out.
There's some genuine little jokes, and there's even some nice little moments when the sort of like when you get the mother opening up to who she thinks is a stranger, and and it's not. It's her daughter, but in this bloke's body.
Yeah,
and she tells him things, and it's. You get, like, it's a nice little sweet moment in this movie. I really enjoyed it. It's like I said, it's exactly what it says it is, no more, no less. And it was, like I said, some brutal kills at the beginning. Sometimes the mix can be a little bit off, but other than that, I really liked it. I'd kind of be down for a sequel if they made one. If it was as good as this. It's Blumhouse. And it's got a very Happy Death Day to you. Sorry, not to you. Happy Death Day feel about it. So
another film I actually really enjoyed.
Great. It's got it feels, like that. So if you enjoyed that and you like, if you want a decent slasher, comedy.
I enjoyed Freaky Friday, to be honest. So
I
enjoyed
like both
of those
versions. Of Freaky Friday.
Yes, same.
The original's great for it. I mean, it's aged quite badly, but it's still fun because I saw it when I was a kid. So
yeah,
and I really like the remake with again Jamie Lee Curtis. And
Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan, yeah. Which poor. I always feel sorry for Lindsay Lohan. She had such promise.
Child actors, child stars. It rarely ends well, does it? I think hasn't she started turning her life around now, though? I don't know.
I think so, but I mean, the thing about her is that if you watch some of her earlier movies, she's actually a pretty good actress.
She was. I actually thought she was really good at one point in a number of films I saw her, and I thought actually she's got a lot of promise. But unfortunately, a lot of child actors do end up going that way. She seems to have kind of stepped away from the spotlight a little now. I'm not sure whether that's intentional or not, but I'd like to think that it's intentional and that she's kind of just getting things back on track. But
I know she had a reality series for a while.
Oh right.
It was like her running a bar in somewhere. I can't remember where, but it looked. I mean, I don't watch reality TV.
No, I don't either.
But it looked terrible. But then most reality TV to me looks terrible.
It looks terrible. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will probably check that out. That sounds fun.
It's a fun slasher comedy, and I really enjoy it. And to be honest, just watch it for Vince Vaughn is enough. He is really good in this, and I'm not a massive Vince Vaughn fan to be fair.
I think in the right role, he's great. He's a superb actor.
There are some roles where he is absolutely stunning, and I still haven't seen Brawl in Cell Block 99. Apparently, he's really good in that.
He's very good in that. Yeah, that's probably a defining performance by him, to be honest. He's great in that film. But yeah, well, that's interesting. I'm gonna probably check that one out this weekend. That sounds fun.
Yeah,
sounds like a lot of fun to me. So, have you seen anything else, or should we move on to some news?
No, I think that's it for my reviews.
Wonderful. Is there any news?
So, yes, there is. I will. Just. I think he's trying to. Being a bit playing silly bugger. So what did I find earlier on? There was some.
I guess the biggest news right now is that apparently Superman and Lois isn't awful, which is quite the surprise.
So many good reviews.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out now. I didn't think I'd watch another one of those shows, but there we go.
Genuinely good Superman show,
apparently.
Which I've seen the guy play Superman because I watched.
Supergirl, didn't you, for a while?
Yeah, I watched the first couple of seasons of Supergirl. I actually enjoyed the first couple of seasons were sort of like silly, over the top sort of superhero stuff, which I kind of enjoyed. And then when they started getting too woke, it was like, yeah, this is bollocks now. So I stopped watching. And I think it's the same with Arrow and Flash. They all started out quite good, and they all got.
I think that
terrible
was the problem. I really enjoyed Arrow up until season 2, I think, because he stopped killing people. He basically became like Arrow became like they clearly wanted to make Batman but couldn't get Batman.
Oh god,
so they basically made him Batman. Yeah. Which annoyed me. And then Flash was really fun for a while.
Terrible for Dave, our friend Dave, because
he loves Green Arrow.
Green Arrow's like his favourite hero, and he hates Arrow.
I can understand that as a fan.
He's not Green Arrow at all.
No,
he is Bat Arrow.
And then Flash was fun for about 2 seasons or so again, and then it fell off. And then Supergirl, I started, but I could already see it was just like it was going to end the same way as Flash and everything else I know. And then Batwoman is just appalling.
I'm not touching that with a fucking large.
And I've not watched Legends of Tomorrow. I've not watched any of that.
I have. Though that's a very silly show.
That's intentionally silly, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it has its moments. And I think the worst thing about that is that they've got some pretty good actors in it, and it's also, Constantine's in it, and it's what's I forget what his name is, the Welsh actor who's playing Constantine from the series.
Yeah,
and it's like he's a really good bloody Constantine. It's really annoying that they kind of fuck it up, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's apparently the Superman show is really good. And like I said,
really good things.
He's actually plays a pretty good Superman in the show, in the Supergirl show. The fact that they kind of sort of made him they neutered him for Supergirl was a bit like, okay, fine, whatever. But yeah, he's not a bad Superman from what I saw.
Well, that's good.
So the idea that when they brought this show, I thought, well, I'm already over that I wasn't going to bother. But so many people have said, no, it's really fucking good.
Yeah.
It's a proper Superman story. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm gonna check it out.
I'm very tempted, I must admit.
So now we're gonna get fucking J.J. Abrams again.
What's he doing?
So he's doing the Superman
series.
No, film.
Oh, with Henry Cavill?
Nope.
Oh.
He's got this writer. I forget what the guy's name is, but he's this writer he's written for Black Panther and stuff, but he's an activist.
Okay.
So he's very woke. He's very part of that whole severely Black Lives Matter type thing.
Okay.
He apparently wrote some very questionable things about the survivors of 9/11.
Oh.
He's a very dodgy guy. Anyway, they've got him to write it, and it sounds like they're going to have the first black Superman.
I said a while ago, when it was rumored that Michael B. Jordan, I think, would be a great Superman. I think
that's what everybody is planning for.
If they get him, I think that's a good casting decision.
Well, there is a version of Superman that was like the president, and he was blatantly based on Obama.
Right.
And he's not Clark Kent.
Okay.
So, I mean, fine if that's what you're going to do, but it sounds.
So I don't know. I don't know what else this writer's written. To really comment. My main concern is Abrams, to be honest.
Yeah.
Based on recent track record, there are a few films of Abrams that I have enjoyed. I think Mission Impossible 3 I quite liked.
Yeah, Mission Impossible 3 is actually a very good film.
There's a few things that he's done. I liked Super 8 as well. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm not a fan of Abrams, so that doesn't fill me with confidence. Also, I really, really was hoping that Henry Cavill would get a good shot at this.
Well, so the thing with that is, so obviously he's going to be he's in the Justice League thing, so we're going to get that. Now, it might be that they're just going to do a whole. They're totally leaning into the Elseworld stuff, and they might continue with that. I think again, as we were discussing the other week, I think it all depends how well the Snyder Cut does.
If it does well, we may end up with both, and then that's great, isn't it? Then we can have our cake and eat it.
But there's a rumor going round that Cavill might be Captain Britain for Marvel.
He'd make a great Captain Britain.
He really would make a brilliant Captain.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
Britain. I mean, it's a bit weird. And of course, they keep trying to push him for Bond as well. And it's like, Henry Cavill cannot play everybody.
No, and that's the thing. Ultimately, if he does have to step down as Superman, he's got plenty of other work. It's not going to be a problem. I just think he really could be an amazing Superman if he's given the right script. And I would like to see him be...
And he loves Superman. He wants to be Superman, you know?
And I'd really like to see him play Superman, the traditional Superman that we haven't seen, you know?
Yeah.
That...
a more Chris Reeves Superman.
Yes.
I think I would love to see that. I mean, I love Superman. I'm a big Superman fan, and I think he makes a fantastic Superman as he is.
But I don't need the broody Superman. The dark broody Superman is what annoyed me, and I really was. It looked like, you know, for as awful a film as Justice League was, by the end of that movie, it was like, oh, okay, we might be getting actual Superman now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shame that Cavill doesn't seem to have gotten that shot. But maybe we'll get a lot of that in Snyder's cut, which would be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll wait until I've seen it or at least seen a trailer or something for it. But it doesn't fill me with joy or hope.
No, it really doesn't.
But I do think Michael B. Jordan would be great casting if they're going to go with a Black Superman. I mean, I guess. I mean, like it's like, do we really need this though? It's like, come on. It's like there are other heroes. There are other things that they could do. I'm surprised they haven't done a Green Lantern movie with what's his name yet? John.
Yeah, I know you mean
John Stewart.
John Stewart.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I'm not a big
comic
book person, so forgive
John
me.
Stewart is a great Green Lantern.
Exactly. I'm surprised they haven't done that yet.
No,
because they screwed up royally with the Hal Jordan stuff. So it's like go that route. John Stewart.
Bring Stewart in. He's great. Keeping with Abrahams.
Oh, what else is he doing?
He's doing another Star Trek movie.
What? I thought that was done.
No, apparently. Where is it? It's Kalinda Vasquez is going to be writing an original Star Trek film. Star Trek film. It's going to be brought obviously to the big screen by Paramount, and apparently Abrahams is still linked.
Oh, what, his production company?
Yeah. This Vasquez thing, woman, she's last worked on Star Trek Discovery.
Good.
Yeah.
So originally they did have who was going to do Star Trek recently?
Well, there's so many people have been attached to it at the moment. I mean,
there was I forget who it was. It was someone with a really good writing history, and they were making all the right noises. And I think it seems like the studio were just like, that's not Star Trek anymore.
Well,
that's not what Star Trek is now.
Noah Hawley was...
that was it.
Yeah, Noah Hawley was announced that he was supposed to be doing...
Yeah, and he was making all the right noises about it, being about exploration, about being about science, about, all of the right
At
things.
This point, they haven't really said anything other than the fact that it's probably got nothing to do with the original cast.
Well, that's...
It's not going to be a Kirk movie. It's going to be, I guess, its own thing. But that's all they've said so far, is that it's going to be Star Trek, and it's going to be that, and J.J. Abrams behind it, and this Vasquez woman is going to be writing it.
Okay, well,
it really doesn't fill me with any kind of.
No, I mean they really need to, especially with the movies. Star Trek is not an action series.
No,
that's not what it's about, and that's what they seem to keep missing. It's doesn't fill me with hope, I must admit.
No, I think
he's a busy boy, this J.J. Abrams.
He is, yeah.
I
mean, the thing, as we said before, that Star Trek always works better as a series anyway.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
The reason the movies work is because they already had the series, behind them.
Yes, and they capitalized on the dynamic between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy.
Yeah, exactly. And even with the Next Gen, it's the same sort of a similar thing. Those movies are have the same sort of thing. You're watching those movies because you've watched those characters.
Yes, yeah.
Trying to sell a Star Trek movie as an original sort of thing with maybe a new crew, I don't know how that's going to work. How well that... I mean, one, it's going to be good because you won't have the attachments.
Yeah, I like the idea of them starting fresh.
It's a good from that respect. But it depends, again, what they're going to do. Well, I mean, and what universe is it going to be in? Because let's face it, now we've got 3 Star Trek universes.
I wonder whether they're going to look to bring them, ignore the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah, completely ignore that and completely ignore the Discovery.
Well, they won't
Picard
ignore the
universe,
Discovery. I think they'll
because
bring
those
it in line with
universes
that, if
are
anything.
awful. We've got to stop giving them air.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Well, okay. I guess we'll see how that goes as time goes by. But I'm not a big fan of Abrams' previous Star Trek movies, so I don't hold out a whole lot of hope for that. They're action movies, really. They're just action movies. They're not really Star Trek at all. So we'll see.
So
you got any more bad news for me, Matt?
Well, this one I'm still not convinced of. This is another one. So Hugh Grant has signed on to be the villain in the new Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Okay.
So we've already got
Hugh Grant's an interesting choice.
Yeah. And he can do villain.
He can, yeah. I'd love someone to make a really good Dungeons and Dragons movie. That would be awesome.
So this is what worries me about this movie. So we've already got Chris Pine attached. We've got Justice Smith, and we've got Michelle Rodriguez.
Okay.
So we've already got not a bad. That's actually not
that's
bad.
That's not bad.
Not a bad sort of list. Justice Smith, I think, was the guy from the Pokemon movie. Mm-hmm. I think, which I really loved. Actually, I thought he was really good in that. So the people that are writing this are the people behind
Gary Gygax.
No. So it's going to be director Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly.
Okay.
Now they worked on Game Night, which is a brilliant comedy. Have you seen Game Night?
I've not seen it. No.
Really fun, really good movie. However, what it seems to be is, does that mean we're going to get a comedy?
Oh no. Yeah, I don't want
the other thing is
it going to be a Jumanji thing where
exactly
a bunch of teens get sucked into the game, and
that is exactly what people are saying.
That would be awful.
Be a Jumanji style movie with real people real world people coming into the world of Dungeons and Dragons, which I guess if you're making it like the cartoon.
Yeah, but
that did happen in the cartoon.
But we had the cartoon, and the cartoon's fine. But I'd really like a proper,
me too,
fantasy movie set in the D&D universe.
A decent D&D movie. Because
think of the universe you could set up there. Because D&D spins off into so many things. You've got you've got the planes, you've got vampires, you've got everything. Yeah, you could do so much with that property. It would be amazing.
There are so many worlds that you could choose to set it in, and I mean, almost if you're clever enough about it, you could have a bloody spanning universe of the with Kryn and Faerun and the Dark Sun universe.
That'd be incredible.
You could have all those things, and they could all be their own things. And they can, plane travel is a serious thing in D&D.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem. But the idea that they're going to make it a comedy just really makes.
Hopefully they won't. They may not make it a comedy. I guess we don't know. We're just assuming from their previous.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Which in all likelihood, you're probably right. But
that atrocious D&D movie from
I always remember Jeremy Irons from that. Is about the only thing I remember.
Oh my god!
And I love Jeremy Irons in most things.
Yeah,
he's awful now.
He was so miscast in that movie.
Well, he was just saying the lines.
Oh, he was doing scenery. He was doing exactly what I imagine they told him to do.
For sure.
Because but even the heroes in that movie are awful.
Mm.
It's like like the thief guy's got like a backwards cap sort of thing, and it's like, why is he dressed like a 90s guy in the D&D world? What the hell is going on? What is shit?
It wasn't good. Actually,
and they criminally underused Tom Baker.
Yes, they really did. Yeah,
it's he should have been the villain in that. He would have made a much better villain.
Speaking of Jeremy Irons, I am on a positive. As much of a mess as I'm sure the Snyder Cut will probably end up being, I am really looking forward to seeing Jeremy Irons Alfred again. He made a really fun Alfred.
Yeah, I
really liked his Alfred, so I'm looking forward to more of that.
Yeah, I thought his Alfred was really good.
I think the casting of that movie was really on point, actually.
Yeah, no,
For the most part, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it would just be nice to have an actual bloody D&D movie that was took it seriously and was an actual,
I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, with as big as Lord of the Rings was,
well, the weird thing
Game of Thrones was, it's like you've got a universe right here, guys. With
I've seen one or two of the sequels, and they take it slightly more seriously, but it's way more people running around in cosplay.
Sure, it's way too late after that first
one.
And
they're terrible. They are, but at least they sort of decided
to go for it.
Go for it a bit more. So Netflix is doing a Terminator anime series.
Now this I'm really, really excited for. I think this has potential, especially if it's the Castlevania people. Please.
It's going to be written by Matt Tomlin, who previously worked on the Batman script with Matt Reeves.
Okay.
And it is going to be done by Japan's is it IG company.
What have they done?
Now, I'm not sure whether they're the ones that did the Vania one. If they are, then...
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Let's have a look.
Again, I'm not sure what they're going to do with it, but it's a case of there have been so many fucking iterations of Terminator right now, and none of them have been good.
No, apart from the first film.
Yes,
and I guess the second one as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't like. Subsequent the subsequent ones.
Okay, they worked on the Ghost in the Shell series, which I quite liked on and off.
Okay. Well, it won't look too bad then, I suppose.
They do the movie? I don't know if they worked on the movie, or I'm not sure whether they worked on the movie or whether they worked on the series. I enjoyed the series for a lot of the series though, so they've done some. Yeah, so that's interesting. There's definitely potential there. I think an anime, hopefully a future war anime, would be really good.
I mean, I would totally love that if it was the future war thing. I would so be, because I mean that's what we've been calling out for since the first Terminator.
The worst mistake that they have made with the Terminator franchise, time and time again, is focusing on the time travel.
Yep,
time travel was something invented by Skynet late in the game, and it was a desperate last-ditch attempt. It's not let's send someone back every 5 seconds. It was they were defeated and used it as a last resort, and it sets up the whole thing. Time travel shouldn't even factor after Terminator 1, really, and certainly not after Terminator 2. So I just think they should naturally go with the future war.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We don't need to see John Connor. I mean, I guess we could see John Connor. That'd be nice to see the end of the series, right? Fine. But start it post Kyle Reese going back and all that. Or if he does, I guess you can't do it post because that's when they win. But I guess have Kyle Reese as an off-screen character. We don't need to see him. Just follow John Connor to the end. Let's see the end of this story from, end to end.
Yeah. Yeah, that would, I mean...
And also, it with a cameo of like a CGI Michael Biehn going through,
Yeah. But I mean, also, like, just go with what you saw in the first movie. Make the laser guns, make the bloody, don't do what they, try and make it more realistic and no, that's the world that was set up. Use that one. That's the world we all wanted to see.
Absolutely.
We wanted to see the piles of crushed skulls.
Yeah, we know it's ridiculous.
And the pulse guns and everything.
We're all fully aware.
Ridiculous.
We're all fully aware.
Exactly. Of course it's ridiculous, but that's what we want to bloody see.
It's also awesome, and that's what we want. But, I think this could be really good.
Yeah, again, like we said, it's like, okay, but if you're going to do it, please, do something different with it. Don't make it about fucking time travel. Don't make it the same sort of thing.
Set it in the future. Just set it in the future.
Yeah. Neil Blomkamp is announced that he is working on District 10.
Fine, if he actually does. Because Neil Blomkamp has said he's working on a lot of bloody stuff in the last 10 years.
Yeah. I feel sorry for him
was
because
going to do Alien, he was going to do RoboCop. Exactly. It's like, what are you doing? Do something.
He sounds like he's put his heart and soul into a lot of stuff that keeps getting pulled out underneath him.
And he is so talented. District 10 would be great. Because that is a film that could do with a sequel, actually.
Yeah, it really is.
It sets itself up nicely for a sequel. So I'm all over that. I just hope that he follows through and does it.
I'm and I think Shelter Copley's going to be on board. So it's it has the potential to be
because
something great.
I've enjoyed pretty much all of Blomkamp's movies, even the lesser liked ones. I mean, even like Elysium and Chappie, I enjoyed for the most part.
They're not great movies, but they're enjoyable enough for what they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're not terrible movies. They're not bad. There's some interesting stuff in both of these movies, and I like Chappie quite a lot. Actually, I thought Chappie was better than Elysium.
Yes, I think it was. It was a better movie. Yeah. Oh well, we'll have to wait and see on that. But it certainly sets itself up nicely for a sequel. So
yeah. Oh, that guy writing the Superman movie is Ta-Nehisi Coates, apparently.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, no. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that's mostly it. I don't think there's anything. Oh, Spider-Man's title, No Way Home, confirmed. I'm sort of over it.
I've been over Marvel for a long time now.
Yeah,
but, it's fine. I'm sure it'll be good if you like that kind of thing.
I mean, the last one was terrible, so I'm a little bit.
I never really remember much of that one, to be honest.
I was a little bit burnt by the last one. I think I really enjoyed the first one. I thought the first one was good. Second one was just a complete letdown.
I keep thinking of the Into the Spider-Verse, which I thought was tremendous.
Oh, Into the Spider-Verse is great
because that's getting a sequel, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be. I think so. Yeah,
and I mean, I'm superheroed out, but I would happily watch that. A sequel to that film, I would definitely watch because that first one was tremendous.
Yeah,
but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it for the sort of
the news. It was quite depressing news this time around. I mean, I guess we'll wait and see what happens. They could produce a great Star Trek movie. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't hold my breath on it. No, Abrams movies, Star Trek movies, I've not been a big fan of, so I'm not holding out much hope. But we'll wait and see. Superman again. This Abrams again, so it kind of concerns me. But we'll wait and see. Who knows? It could be good. We'll just have to wait and see. What are we going to watch next time, Matt?
I had a couple of ideas.
You were like there then, like you had an idea.
No, I had a couple of ideas, but not nothing sort of concrete yet.
Okay, well we'll see what happens in the week.
Yeah.
But in any case, we will be back next week, and until then, stay safe, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.